Good evening. My name is Sandra Craig, and I represent the Etiquette Foundation of Illinois. You are watching a live call in television program brought to you on CAN TV 21. Let's talk etiquette. During the next 25 minutes, my very special co host will be none other than that awesome man, Mr. Nathan Wright.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's a joy to be here with you again. The time flies so fast. I'm just so amazed at how much support we're getting from our viewing audience. So thank you for inviting me again to be your co-host.
Good to be together again, yes. To our viewers today, I want you to know that we appreciate your comments, your concerns, and your questions. We have been having an overwhelming response to the topics we have been discussing. So for any reason, if you are not allowed to get on the air, we want you to contact us at our contact number and www.efoi.org to give us your questions that you didn't get on the air or your calls. Please do not hesitate to contact us. Our phone lines are open, and you may call us at area code 312-738-1060. Today, our topic of discussion is, again, conceal to carry versus civility. Should we add civility training to the concealed carry law as a requirement to qualify for a concealed carry permit? Give us your comments on that subject. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you. Mr. Wright.
Yes.
Back together again. Yes.
Wonderful, yes.
And this topic has really been getting a lot of feedback from this topic.
Yes, we have been getting it. I'm amazed at the responses we've been getting to this subject. It really is the kind of subject people are concerned about, obviously, or they wouldn't be calling and asking those wonderful dynamic questions that they have been asking of us. So, yes, this is a great subject. It's something that's on the minds of people all over this country.
Yes. I could see why, because we're talking about human life here.
Absolutely.
Now, Mr. Wright, do you think civility training should be included or required when you're applying for that permit to carry that concealed weapon?
Absolutely. I do agree, Sandra. This is so important. I mean, they require you to take a firearm training program, but what about this thing called civility, manners, and morals? The things that make the difference in how a person feel or act or think, and their behavior is critical to this whole subject. And so to just simply give a person a permit to carry a concealed weapon without having some type of profile as to the possibilities of this person using that weapon, I think is idiot, stupid. You're just foolish to do that. And so I think so, absolutely.
Well, Mr. Wright, I agree. And you told me you were going to write a letter to the governor and let him know that you feel that the citizens would like to see civility training added to someone who is planning on owning a firearm.
Absolutely, I think so. If you're going to require them to take a gun class to train how to use that weapon, I think we should do some kind of profile or civility training to ensure that person has the right attitude, just the right philosophy about life and about the importance of life and the value of life. If you're going to give them that awesome responsibility to actually take another person's life.
Yes.
We just need to know who's carrying guns.
I agree. I think we already have our first caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
To both of you. You know, when I hadn't planned on calling in, but you guys hooked me again.
Good hook, right?
Good.
Yeah, absolutely a great topic. Here, a couple points. Okay, in terms of the civility training, number one, they've already kind of mapped out the fees for what they propose to have for training before you're permitted to carry a gun. So, number one, what type of fees would there be? Would there be an increase in the standard rates right now? So someone's going to have to pay for the additional training. Number one. And I'll just make 3 quick points. Number two, this training seems to be cosmetic because we don't have any operating statistics to validate the training and the effectiveness of the training. And then number 3. If someone were to fail the civility quotient of the training, would they be disallowed in terms of obtaining the concealed carry? So I'll just put that on the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wright, would you like to comment on that?
I like his questions. They're very good questions.
They were good questions.
Right. Well, first, I think, the whole notion about standing your ground. I mean, what data and statistics have they done on that subject? But it's national law that you just, what are the parameters for standing your ground?
Yes.
What are the circumstances involved with you having a desire to stand your ground? And as far as the question concerning an additional cost to the fee, most firearms, what do they call it, $500, $600, $700 for a firearm? If you get all the accessories, the ammunition and the holster, you're looking close to $1,000. I guess, I don't know. I'm ignorant to the subject. The caller perhaps is more knowledgeable on that, but I'm sure it's not a cheap experience. A cost.
Right.
And then you have to pay for the training. I don't know what that will cost, but I'm sure there's a cost attached to it. But to do a civility profile or something like a civility training, it may very well be much less expensive than it is to do the actual firearms training. I couldn't imagine it costing more. And if a person wants this permit, then it's like a driver's license. You have to learn to drive and take a training course to learn to drive an automobile or a truck. So it costs to do those things if you really want them.
I agree with you, Mr. Wright. I think if you really want something, you'll go to the limit to get it done.
Absolutely.
And if I want to carry a firearm and they tell me one of the stipulations is that I must be trained in civility before I can get my permit, I will go forward if that's what I want to do.
Yes.
Isn't that the American way?
That's the American way. It's the safest way, too.
Yes, I agree.
I don't want a person.
And I think when it comes to firearms, we should take every precaution that's afforded to us.
Absolutely.
Now, I believe we have a caller. Caller, you on the air?
Yes. Good evening, guys. How you doing?
Good evening.
Yes, Steve.
And let me just add a little with what Tony just said, because he's totally right. I would add this. You got to be on somebody's couch for 2 or 3 months. You got to be on someone's couch. Let some psychiatrist do a work and see are you mentally fit to do this. Make it hard. Come on, because only thing I could think of, I'm going to buy me a doggone bulletproof vest. Never thought about nothing like that, but when I go out, I'm going to have one on. But can I just get out the topic for just 1 second, if you don't mind, guys?
Go ahead.
I was listening to the show prior to y'all, and I was just thinking, again, I'm 64 years old, man. I was born on 50th in St. Lawrence. I really don't remember that much, but I moved to 70th in South Park then. And I saw kids all coming out in the neighborhoods. They were just talking about the show how people now is discriminating towards kids living in an apartment building. Mm-hmm. Where in the heck are these kids going to go? Now, naturally, you don't want no kid coming in, breaking your windows and you're destroying your property. You don't want people with sheets on their windows and whatnot. If I don't do it, if I own that property, I don't want you to do it. But again, what are we going to do for the kids? It's getting to a point. People don't want kids in the apartment. But you know what? They let pit bulls and stuff like that be in the house. I don't know. Maybe it's just me getting old, getting more sensitive. Because, again, I think I am my brother's keeper. I think everyone deserves a second chance, sometimes a third chance. I know I have had chances. But, again, that just stuck with me. I just want to throw that to y'all, too, because I know y'all good for that, too. Okay. Excuse me for getting out the subject just for a second. But I would like to just hear your response to that quickly and get back to the show. But again, y'all always have a wonderful show. I want to thank you for taking the call. I want to thank you for letting me get off the subject for a second. And y'all always have a good show. I'll be with y'all next week.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Steve is always on point. I mean,
Yes.
we really appreciate your calls and your questions and commentary. And as far as children being denied to live in a certain complex or building, that is unfortunate. Fortunate it's that way, but it goes back to the parenting. You know, we believe in parenting and in terms of teaching your children how to behave in public and private, and that's not happening, unfortunately. And so that should be the requirement, and in some cases it is, because you get evicted if your child is creating a disturbance of something.
Yes, that's true. I have heard of that happening. Now, I have some questions that I would like to pose to the audience.
Okay.
It's 15 civility personality profile questions.
Okay.
I'm assuming that if you're going to go get a permit for a firearm, I would like to see the person's ask these questions. And the first one is, are you an avid moviegoer? What kind of movies do you enjoy or prefer? Romantic, action, cartoons? Because I believe you can determine a little bit about a person by what they like to watch.
I agree with that.
What's
Absolutely.
their preference? So that is one of the questions I would like to ask. Now, we have a caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, good evening. You both look beautiful today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, but I actually wanted to comment. You all heard the quote, you've heard the quote, an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure.
Yes.
I also believe that civility works hand in hand. Just like if you apply civility before an altercation, then that would eliminate itself. It wouldn't be a need for a firearm. If you had the skills to say, well, I'm going to agree to disagree agreeably, then that would just wipe the whole situation out. You both part ways with the understanding that you don't agree. That's just my personal opinion. Well, I'm going to listen to see what you all have to say, and as always, travel in peace.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother King.
Thank you.
Yes.
And you know what, Mr. Wright, he makes a very good point.
Excellent point.
Yes.
Absolutely. It would be no need to carry a firearm. And this is what's missing in our society, this sense of being respectful towards one another, honoring life and our humanity, and following these basic fundamental rules of social conduct. And if we did that, if we taught that in the schools, then you wouldn't have the confrontations, the conflict that we are experiencing in this country, unfortunately. That leads to the violence and the deaths and the murders.
Yes, and
we see.
I agree. I think if we were to teach our young people how to diffuse a volatile situation without it becoming violent with deadly force, we'd have less murders and crimes in every city if we
Absolutely.
practice that. I really believe that. And for some reason, I'm wondering why it's so hard for people to see that. I don't know what it is, but it seems like it's hard for people to see. If we were more polite, if we were more courteous, if we were more respectful to each other and considerate, we wouldn't be needing guns.
No, in 90% of the cases.
90% of the
would not
cases.
be needing guns.
Right.
That's true.
So, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm the only one that doesn't get it, right?
Yes. And just quickly, just to comment further about this whole concept, is that keep in mind, they tell us that if you have a weapon, you can defend yourself, you can protect yourself. But if a criminal wants to do harm to you, he has all of the element of surprise. He can just walk up to you and shoot you, and you're dead. And if he thinks you may have a weapon, he's more apt to shoot you dead than to even ask you any question or even take a risk that you might do harm to him. So you're really feeding into people who would commit the murder or shoot you before asking you any questions. And they have the element of surprise, not you. If they have the gun drawn already, are you going to try to pull your weapon? You really asking to get shot.
Sad.
It's sad, yes.
We have another caller. Caller, you on the air?
My name is Ronnie Anderson, and we already have a militia, which is the police department, that carry guns. And I want to know that the society is moving towards transgression. What about God in the situation? And, because I feel that we're going towards a racial war. Can you comment on that?
Good question. Good question. The question, I don't think we're headed towards a race war in that sense. And I say that because, it just doesn't make any sense logically to go to that level of violence among individuals based on the color of their skin. It's totally illogical to even think that it would happen. Not to say that we may not have issues and incidents that are race-related or race-based between one color versus another color. But, it's just not, I don't see that in the forecast as we move forward, even with this particular law here. As far as the police is concerned, no, they can't be there when someone is robbing you, and unlikely they'll be there when the person finished robbing you and you report it. So it's the deprivation in the society that is really the issue that drives crime and violence. Deprivation in terms of poverty and unemployment, those things are critical to the level of violence we're experiencing. And so if we solve those problems, then I think we would have almost zero crime in this country.
There are a lot of ills, Mr. Wright. You are absolutely correct. Since we're talking about civility and conceal to carry, I have another question for you.
Okay.
Mr. Wright, if someone bumps into you on the streets and the person refuses to say, "Excuse me," and they knock you down and you drop your briefcase, I want to know, what would you do?
Well, first of all, when I am walking on the street, I try to be very careful and mindful of who's coming towards me and the likelihood of us having some kind of physical encounter. I really work hard at that, and I think you do too, because we don't want to have an accidental bumping. But, okay, if I am bumped and knocked down, certainly I'm going to look around to see what happened to me and who bumped me. And if the person doesn't appear to be apologetic or make some effort to apologize or say, "I'm sorry, excuse me," then I'm just going to get up and just walk on my way, because it won't be to my benefit to try to confront the person, like as an example, say, "What is wrong with you? Didn't you see me?" That is just asking for, a confrontation. And so it wouldn't benefit me. I'm unarmed. I don't carry a weapon, and I'm not looking to shoot anybody. So I'll just say, okay, I'm able to get up. I'm not that hurt, and just go ahead and just let it be what it is. And certainly if I don't contribute to it, it won't be an incident.
And and the other part of that is, Mr. Wright, if someone bumps into you and actually knocks you to the ground and they don't acknowledge what they did, that person's probably looking for some trouble.
Absolutely.
And it would be in your best interest to keep walking.
Yes, get up and go about my
especially with the conceal to carry, you may say something to them to get them excited, because they're probably already hot-headed, and get them excited, and they say, "Did you say something to me?"
Right.
You bumped into me.
Right.
You want to do something? Then you'll be like, "Oh, no." So the best thing to do, I'm just telling you, I see us going in that direction.
Yes.
And as a caller called before and said, "What about God?" Well, yes, we know that a lot of people have left God out of a lot of things. And we need to bring him back in our lives, as well as civility. And it's going to take every one of us to do that.
Absolutely.
I believe we have a caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Good evening.
Good
You
evening.
brought up God, right?
No, we didn't.
No, the caller did.
Okay, the caller brought up God, right?
Yes.
And I want to make a few quick comments. First of all, we got all these churches, right? And they believe in God, okay? But the one thing they have on their doors at night is locks to protect themselves. And I want to make another comment. First of all, people already is carrying concealed weapons on them already out there in the street. And we got people before they even born, okay, that if their mother and their father already been marinated with drugs, and by the time the children get here, they already drugged up themselves, all right? And when you out there on the street and you're dealing with people, you got to use some common sense. When you out there and you're dealing with people that don't have a full deck of cards, and I have been out there on the street, and you have some like a pack of wolves attacking you, boy, you gonna wish you did have a Colt 45 to protect yourself. And you tell me that's when civility is not going to work. And I think crime going to wind up going down. And I've been saying for years before that we need the National Guard. No, we don't need the National Guard right now. You're going to need your bodyguard, Smith & Wesson. That's going to protect you much more than anything else because the police ain't going to protect you. You know, you need to be able to protect yourself.
Well, would you like to?
Well,
comment?
I thank you for your comment and your call, but I'm not advocating violence, and everybody needing a Colt 45 and a Smith & Wesson. I don't agree with. But caller, you're entitled to your opinion.
Yes.
And I hope we don't go that route.
Yes. And then too, with poverty and the conditions that breed violence within those communities, you're going to have a higher level of violence there solely on that. And then when you factor in, Sandra, the movies, the glorifications of violence in the movies, you see hundreds of shootings and killings from, in your lifetime just in watching the violent movies, action movies, and the video games. All those things are contributing to the level of violence that we're experiencing in our society. So we need to, take note of those things because that's a big factor as to why we have the level of violence.
That and the fact that we have people that consume large amounts of alcohol.
Yes, and
drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And people who just are violent, have violent tempers and violent by nature. I really don't think crime is going to go down. Mm-hmm. I really think something needs to be repealed as far as these laws. Stand your ground law. It's another case I heard this week. This man shot into a car at some young people. He shot 10 times. He's claiming stand your ground in self-defense. He said they had a rifle. They didn't even find a stick in the car. So I really think that something needs to be done. I really
Absolutely.
do. I don't want to see what's coming. If people can shoot at you 10 times, and a young man is dead. He's lost his life. And shoot at you 10 times and then say, oh, it was self-defense. And the young man never got out of the car. Young man didn't have anything. So I do think we're going to see more violent crimes. I really do.
I think so. I agree.
Mr. Wright, I think I can ask you one more question.
Okay.
And that is, do you agree that excessive force, deadly force, is justifiable even if the other person is unarmed? Yes or no?
That's a great question. I don't think it is personally. But you do have people who will go and use force and feel that they're justified solely because the person is larger than them. Mm-hmm. You have people with complexes about their size, men as well as women, but men in particular, smaller men, have a greater fear of larger men. And if the man is unarmed, he may be in a bathing suit and it's obvious that he doesn't have a gun or a weapon, but yet you fear this person and you feel justified in using a firearm to protect yourself. And so where does that take us as a society, as a culture, where you can just shoot somebody just because you fear them? And it's a difficult situation we're in.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Mr. Wright, I know that there's so many more conversations that we could have and so many more questions I could ask you, but we want to get off the air on time.
Absolutely.
So I want to take time to thank you for being my very special co-host. I thank you, callers and viewers, for tuning in to Let's Talk Etiquette, and I ask that you would remember your manners and morals this weekend. And in closing, I would like to send our condolences to Mr. Jeffrey Stark's family. Mr. Jeffrey Starks was a member of the Etiquette Foundation, and he has passed away. The Etiquette Foundation has lost a great member, and we are mourning with you, the Starks family. Thank you, good night, and have a great weekend.